May I please have your full and undivided attention? It is time for the Paranormal Rundown. Hello, this is Cedric Dankwell-Smythe. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all fans of the paranormal, the supernatural, the unusual, the entertaining, the terrifying, the horrifying, and those things that go bump in the night and in the daytime too. This is the one and only Paranormal Rundown, where the lads, the gang of nerds, choose from over 2,700 carefully curated paranormal topics. Tonight, the Dork Squad, the gang of nerds, is down to 3 members, Vic, Dave, and Father Josh. But they have an astounding guest. They have Barry Maher, author of The Great Dick and This Dysfunctional Demon. Now that's a title. They'll talk about that book and Huldufolk, brain surgery-induced storytelling, quantum immortality, Tricksters, EVPs, and much, much more. It'll be a great ride. Let's get going.
Hello, everybody. This is Vic Hermanson, coming to you tonight with the 50th episode of the Paranormal Rundown. The Paranormal Rundown list has been continuously growing now for almost 2 years, and we're up to 2,797 topics. I tried real hard to get us to 2,800, but alas, I failed. We have a guest tonight. We have Barry Maher, who is an author, with us tonight, and I'm going to let Dave tell you more about him.
Well, welcome, Barry. Barry came to us. He's got a book that he is recently written called The Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon, which is a great title. And we'll get into it later on in the podcast, but I think there's some really fascinating background on how that was written and the inspiration for it. And so just as a general, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Barry?
Well, I'm old. There's that.
Welcome to the crew.
Welcome to the crew. Yeah, you'll fit right in.
And I've been doing this for quite a long time. I started out, I think the first thing I ever published was a bit of poetry. And I'm actually an award-winning poet. The award was like 5 copies of Xerox Literary Magazine. So not quite the Nobel Prize, but, it got me started. I wrote stuff for maybe 100 different publications, and I was probably had about that many different jobs to survive while I was doing it. I lived on the beach. Didn't live in a house on the beach. I lived on the beach with the sand, with the seagulls. And then I started speaking. Started taking my stories around the world, around the country, and that worked out really well. It got me on the Today Show, NBC, CBS, CNN, all the C's. And I started writing in my spare time, and that started working because I had a platform.
Excellent.
And now I write basically full-time. I write a weekly syndicated column called the Slightly Off-Kilter column, and I write novels of like The Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon.
Excellent. Yeah, I on your website, I saw some of the videos on there, the motivational videos, which, my background is in corporate IT.
Oh.
And so boy, that brought back some memories. I've sat in on many sessions like that.
Really? I could have used a guy like you many times.
Good stuff. Well, Vic, why don't you get us started with some topics?
Okay. From the 2,797 topics, I have drawn 6 at random through random number generator through Excel. No topic is weighted above another. Every topic has an equal chance of coming up. So the 6 we have today are, number 1, the Dancing Plague. Number 2, fairies, fae, trolls, ogres, gnomes, elves, pixies, goblins, etc. Topic 3, the water horse. Topic 4, paranormal investigation equipment. Topic 5, is our nation under the control of demons? If so, to what degree? And topic 6, Tartaria and mud floods. And I've put a editorial comment, man, these are some really dim people.
So I get to choose here?
You get to choose.
You
What
get to
sounds
choose.
interesting?
You're the chooser.
Well, since the subtitle of my book is The End of Dysfunctional Demon, let's talk about demons, pixies, and whatever the heck else was on that list.
Fairies, fays, trolls, ogres, gnomes, elves, pixies, goblins, etc.
Oh, my.
I've known many.
Well, I'll start a little bit. And I didn't realize this, but in Britain, fairies, the fae folk, the wee people, the little folk, kind of occupy the same position as Bigfoot does in the United States. People pretty frequently report seeing fairies in England. And so I got on YouTube and I found a channel where there's a guy who every day, older fellow, goes out in the woods, has a camera, and he apparently knows where the fairies are, and he's got some interesting videos of...
Oh, is this that guy that they show up in the background?
They show up in the background, and he'll be watching the monitor, and he'll say, look back there. There he is. There he is. And of course, you can't turn around and look at a fairy.
No,
because,
it goes away.
Yeah, it's going to go away. So all he can do is let the camera look, and he does his... So, my mind is always, A, because of some experiences I've had, and B, just because I'm a weird mind. What are we seeing there? I mean, in my mind, chances are that he's made friends with a really, really good CGI guy.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing. It kind of has that feel. But he's not the only one. Why are there so many people in England who continue to see these fairy, these little people, these fae folk?
Not just England. My grandfather was born and brought up in Ireland. He believed
wow.
until the day he died.
Is Ireland one of the places where they'll change the route of a road if it's going to invade an area that's supposed to be important to the fairies?
Wouldn't surprise me, but they changed the route of the road over there for about anything if you've ever driven it out.
Well, I know it's one of the Scandinavian countries where they call them the Huldufolk.
The who?
And Huldufolk.
Oh,
Huldefolk, I think, if you're...
some kind of folk.
Folk, yeah. And they're, it just means the little people of nature. And so if you're going to build a road, part of the zoning and approval process is making sure that you're not going to damage the fairies.
Wow.
Or the ogres or the trolls.
Yeah, it's so hard to trust videos now on the internet or whatever platform on the internet you are. But, I'm on a fair amount of Discord groups and see stuff online. It is amazing to me how much fairies come up in the U.S. as a possibility of activity. My wife and I, Barry, we've done a paranormal investigating for years, for ghosts and stuff. And you used to occasionally hear somebody go, oh, I think this may be an elemental, right? Which was sort of I have no idea what it is. It doesn't act like a normal ghost, right? It's, it doesn't look like a normal ghost. It doesn't seem to be demonic, so it must be an elemental. But now I see fairies and elementals and stuff like that tossed around a whole lot more. Have you had any experience with that in your research or daily life?
No, not a bit. Aside from doing it for books, which basically I'm not too concerned with getting the facts strictly right.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Okay.
If it's interesting, you might put it in a book.
Right.
when I was doing nonfiction, I would be more concerned with that. The experience I've had is firsthand and strange, and I wouldn't vouch for any of it. I had an experience when I was about 10 where I am sure I saw something, but I don't know what it was. And I could never get anybody else to believe that I'd seen it.
Well, you're in the right place.
That's always
the case. what can you describe? Just
well, it was
what
dark.
It was?
It was dark and it was moving, and it wasn't threatening. It was almost like it was stumbling. It was if it was a demon of some sort, it was not a very coordinated demon.
Gotcha.
But I didn't feel at all scared by the thing. I mean, I felt startled. I was startled by it. There was nobody else in the room but me.
Oh, it was in your home.
It was in my home. It was in my bedroom, which I didn't much care for.
Yeah, I think that is a little bit problematic.
Bedroom, But I mean, I could never get anybody to believe I'd seen it, and I never saw it again. So who knows what it was? I had another experience later as an adult, which I still can't explain, more of a paranormal experience, but I experienced a person, not a fairy or a demon. It was somebody I knew who was 3,000 miles away at the time. There was nothing fairy about her, but there was no reason for her to be there either. And hang on, let me, we talk about this stuff all the time. Okay. And I'll just be honest. I'm an outcast among most of the people that I used to be friends with because I lend credence to some of these things. I think it's worth the time of somebody who really wants to understand the world to study and talk about these things. So we've had a guest on who had a vision of a Native American chief in his bedroom at night. Chief. Oh, chief. I think you said sheep.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I prefer my version, actually.
Yeah. Chief in his bedroom at night. I'm friends with someone, there's a commonality here, who, while they were in the forests of Texas, saw what he described as an entire tribe of 3-foot-tall Cherokee First Nations people that had weapons and were hunting and were aware of him and made it real clear that they wanted him to leave. So people,
which I'm sure he did.
We've had doppelganger stories too. We had, was it Randy that had an experience where he was on a hike with a bunch of people and they saw a doppelganger of him somewhere. It was like his doppelganger. It wasn't even, it wasn't him seeing someone else's.
I think it even had the same voice too, did it?
I think so. Yeah. So, I mean, these stories, there are other people that have them. When we had Jim Harold on, from the Paranormal Podcast, he had just oodles of stories from Campfire with Jim Harold in his books of people having doppelganger experiences. I don't know what that is. That's crazy.
Did this vision of your friend have a purpose? I mean, was there a message? Was there?
It's really strange. And it's, again, this kind of thing I've never got anybody else to believe in but me. It was incredibly vivid. And it happened to be at the same time that she'd gotten into an automobile accident 3,000 miles away. I mean, virtually the moment.
Wow.
And we were, and I almost didn't believe it myself. I tried to shake it off, but it was as real as any other experience I've ever had, really.
So where were you when you saw her?
I was in bed, and it was like, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning, and I was laying there, like you do before you get up. And all of a sudden, she was there. And it was like, what? And I knew that she couldn't possibly be there because I knew where she was. But I mean, it was vivid. It was real. I could touch her, which I did. And I can't explain it, but that's just what happened. I put my hand behind her head. I felt the back of her head, and it was her.
Your fingers experienced a corporal state.
My fingers experienced a corporal state, exactly as if she was standing there.
Amazing.
It was the weirdest damn thing.
Well, Barry,
What was her experience?
Her experience, she doesn't share that at all. Her experiences was she was in an accident and she was knocked unconscious at virtually the same time in a car accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she okay eventually?
She was okay. She was fine.
Mm-hmm.
She was, I don't think she was even badly hurt by the accident, but she was knocked out. I think she spent a day or so in the hospital for observation and they sent her back. And I didn't see her again for maybe a month or two. And it wasn't until later we compared notes and realized it was the same time.
Wow.
I mean, she said, "Oh, I was in this accident." I said, "Well, when was that?" And we started talking about it, and I realized it was virtually the exact same time.
Were you one of the people that she would turn to for comfort and support?
Oh yeah, we had a very close relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We were separated at that point.
Okay.
By happenstance as much as anything else.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if she'd had a problem and had walked in and said, I got a problem. Can you listen to me or whatever?
Well,
we had
Barry,
that close a relationship.
Barry, I've talked to enough people now to where if someone gives me a story like that earnestly, and there's not snickering and there's not the turning of the eyes away and this sort of thing, I've come to believe there's no reason not to believe them.
Well, I mean, I can't explain it, and I've never really tried to explain it. There's no explanation for it. But, I mean, that's my experience. That's what happened.
When you start delving into this stuff and talking with people who, whether it's experience in investigating or researchers and such, almost everybody has a story. Almost everyone has one story where they go, there was that one time, I just can't explain it. I thought I was going crazy. Nobody believed me. But I think the paranormal is way more frequent than we give it credit. And I think there's a lot of times we just dismiss it. Something happens that is truly abnormal, that's not normal in our lives, and we go, oh, that couldn't, my eyes must have been tricking me.
Yeah, I've come to think of that as a protective mechanism that many people have. It's just hey, that doesn't fit anywhere in my life. I'm not going to spend any time worrying about it. So probably I'm not really well suited for survival because I worry about these things
Right.
When I see them. I've never seen a corporeal entity like that. I did see, no, the Quaker guy I saw was pretty dang corporeal.
Oh, yeah, that's right, at the bookstore.
Yeah, he was pretty darn corporeal. So, Barry, I've had two situations where I saw a human being. I didn't touch them. One was when I was working in an ICU as a nurse, and there was a patient who was horribly, horribly injured and would die. He'd been shot in the head 15 times with a 25 caliber weapon.
Hard to come back from that.
And he was on a ventilator. I don't know why they were working so hard to keep him alive. But standing between the bed and the wall, I saw that exact same person. Kind of wispy. There was a little difference from looking at someone solidly. And he was kind of trying to get people's attention. And I could see him mouthing the words, "Help me, help me." I mean, there's no sound. And I looked around the ICU, seeing if anybody else was noticing. Because we were a pretty tight group of people. We'd watch after each other's patients. And the closest nurse to me was a Filipino nurse named Sally Kalimlam. And I said, "Hey, Sally, you see anything over there?" "No, I don't see anything." "So what was that? Was that a vision designed just for me? Was that something my mind just made up because I felt so terrible about this young man being shot in the head?" "I don't know." but it happened. And then more recently, I was in an ancient bookstore here in Pennsylvania, up on the floor where they have all the paranormal books. And out of nowhere, this is an old barn, and you can't move around it without making all kinds of noise. So I look over 15 feet away from me, and there's an old man whom I'm immediately thinking is an old Amish man. You know, farm clothes, big boots, straw hat, beard, long beard. And he just stands there. You know, I'm looking at him, at first thinking, well, how did he get up here? And after a short period of time, he just walked into the limestone wall.
Just walked into the wall.
Just walked into the wall.
And he blended in there.
Well, he was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone. And so, once again, it's the same as you. Finding someone who doesn't just immediately chuckle or give you the look of, yeah, is hard.
Yeah, you tend not to talk about it.
It's hard. You had sent us some chapters, or somebody had sent us some chapters of The Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon. And I read those chapters, but I couldn't put together the entire story because I didn't have the whole book. But how do experiences like seeing this woman just suddenly appear in your bedroom, how does that impact writing the way you write? How does that impact writing the books that you write?
I think it makes it a lot easier to deal with things that other people would consider really, really unlikely or even impossible. I think it makes it a lot easier to entertain those kind of ideas as if they're real. Because when you're writing a story, obviously you have to put yourself in that position. It has to be real to you, at least while you're describing it. And if you can do that, then it's real to the reader. If you can't do that, then, it's not going to be real to the reader. So I think realizing that there are things like that, and to be honest, I've done my share of drugs in my life, psychedelic drugs.
Really?
And I think being open to that experience also makes it easier to slide into what people would call an alternate reality, which, the story of the Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon,
that's how
it's a
it
very
starts.
alternate reality.
Yes.
But it starts out in a reality that everybody would recognize. And then gradually slides into this other reality, which has to be as real as the initial reality, which everybody recognizes at the beginning.
Do you mind if I recount the way that book opens, or would you rather do that?
Oh, no, go ahead, do that. Probably do a better job than I would.
Well, the book is organized by times, by dates. And the beginning is just simply sometime in the past. And there's a professor who kind of seems like maybe he's just not real deeply into being a professor anymore.
Yes.
And he's saying that he's, what did he had, a shit ton and a half of LSD?
Yes.
Something along those lines. And
that's a lot, by the way.
And he's saying, well, I know nobody's here, has read Moby Dick, because you guys just don't read. So you're not ever going to read Moby Dick. But probably you couldn't get through high school without reading The Great Gatsby. So if you've read The Great Gatsby, you've also read Moby Dick. and he says, so maybe they ought to just have a book for our time called The Great Dick. And truth is, I found that one of the more entertaining starts to a book that I had ever read.
Well, it's not Call Me Ishmael, but I like it.
But
well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for the book? I really wanted to dig into that.
Do you know the story? Did I tell you any of it?
Well, I saw a little bit about it on some of the the material I read online. So I want to hear from you. How did it come about?
I was doing my job. I was speaking on an Asian cruise, and I was getting towards the end of the session. I wanted to see what time it was, how much time I had left. And I looked out and I saw the clock, and I couldn't figure out what the hands meant. And I figured that wasn't really a good idea. I sort of shrugged it off. Then I started having trouble with currency too. I had, of course, a lot of times you have trouble with foreign currency. I was having trouble with American currency. I was in Vietnam. There was a vendor there who wanted $7 American for a baseball cap, and I needed a cap at the time. I got my head, it's bald. And I gave her 102 tens for a $7 cap. It was a really nice cap, but,
not that nice.
Not that nice. So I went home. My wife insisted I go to the doctor. First thing the doctor did is he made me draw a clock face at 10 minutes of 3. Second thing he did was take away my driver's license. And he sent me down for an immediate MRI. The woman there, the nurse, she wouldn't tell me the results, but I said, well, where's the restroom here? She said, I can't let you go to the restroom by yourself.
Well, that gives you an understanding.
That gives you an understanding there. And going to the restroom by myself is something I've always been pretty good at, But she said, no, you got to talk to your neurosurgeon. Neurosurgeon said, you've got a brain tumor the size of a basketball. Or maybe he said baseball, but I wasn't tracking real well on that point. But what I did understand was that this guy wanted to cut open my head with a chainsaw and then carve out this brain tumor, which made me think that I didn't really need to tell time anymore, or maybe I could just buy a digital watch. So anyway, make a long story short, I went into the surgery, went under the chainsaw, and maybe I had some sort of a seizure in there. They weren't sure. That after I got out of the thing, they were not sure if I had a seizure in it at all. But maybe I had a dream. I don't know. But I came out of that thing with two things going on in my head. I had Lady Gaga singing nonstop, same song over and over and over again on the loop in my head.
I'm sorry about that.
The story. Yeah, I know. And the story, which was like a memory, as if I'd just seen it happen.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was that vivid.
That was the Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon. It was open crypts. It was bizarre spells. It was sudden death. It was the Ralph Lauren version of the Manson family. It was just really, really weird. And the story stuck with me. So when I was able to, I spent the next couple of years turning that into the book. And that's when people ask me, where do you get your ideas from? I got mine from a chainsaw.
Well, do you mind me asking you what kind of tumor it was?
It was cancerous, but it's in remission now, so it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's angioparasitoma.
Angioparasitoma. Okay. Well, I was thinking it wasn't a GBM because you wouldn't be here, but
right. Exactly. It's been over 5. It hasn't been 5 years. We're getting close to it.
But I mean, to me, that's one of the more fascinating things. Is you're not the first person I've talked to who either had a head injury or a tumor or something happened to their brain where afterward they were able to do things they weren't able to do before or seemed to have knowledge they didn't have before. I haven't talked to anyone who came out of this totally losing something. I mean, you gained at least this story.
At least the story, yeah.
Yeah, at least the story. I'm assuming that probably your outlook on life, your perception of things changed because of this experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like surviving that kind of a thing. Because the way everyone was treating me when you can't go to the restroom by yourself.
Right.
I mean, basically when she said that, I wrote it off. I said, well, this is it,
Yeah.
Had a good run and this is it. I mean, they wouldn't let me get out of the wheelchair. I finally just said, I'm going. And I got up and went into the restroom. But, I mean, at that point, you write it off. You just,
right.
And I was very calm about it.
You came back to the U.S. for the surgery?
Did I what?
Did you come back to the U.S. for the surgery?
I had the surgery, I think 2 days later in the same hotel. They wanted to keep me there. They didn't want me to leave.
Okay.
But I said, I've got things I've got to put together if I may not be here any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I left the hotel and came back for the surgery 2 days later.
Good. I would rather have my brain surgery in the U.S.
Oh yeah, I did trust the doctor. I mean, I checked him out, he had, one of these guys, he'd been to Princeton, he'd been to UCLA for grad school, he'd been everywhere, and he was really highly thought of. I'm somebody that I've been surrounded by intelligent people my entire life,
Hmm.
and I've seen all the stupid things they've done. I've seen
Which
all
are
the stupid
myriad.
things I've done.
Uh-huh.
So I tend to think human intelligence is kind of overrated. I mean, the thing I always say is, to me, on a scale of everything there is to know in the universe, the major difference between Einstein and Coco the Wonder Chimp is that Einstein couldn't pick up bananas with his feet, as far as I know.
But he spent a lot of time trying.
He probably did. Yeah. So it was hard to put myself in this guy's hands no matter what, except for the fact that I'd already written it off. I was figuring, well, it's probably not going to work out, but like I say, I've had a good run, and this is what's happening.
So you psychologically placed yourself kind of in the same position as a hostage. Let me just go ahead and think of myself as being dead.
It just happened it's happened to me twice in my life.
Okay.
I've had, well, maybe more than that. When I was a kid, had some bad sickness. I almost died a couple of times. Had a kidney removed, and so to me, it's always been borrowed time, and I've always felt that way, and it's always been great because it's all gravy. But one time I was told there was a severe problem with my heart, which fortunately didn't turn out to be that true.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking I immediately got really calm. And I said, well, it's been a good run to this point. And the same thing happened here. It's been a good run to this point. It doesn't owe me anything.
Well, but your particular psychological makeup, I'm sure there was some fear, but you weren't overwhelmed by that fear.
No. I mean, it's more of a nervousness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've experienced medicine enough, and I don't have a lot of faith in doctors, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah, welcome to my life.
Yeah, because I've seen the good and the bad. I mean, doctors have saved my life and have almost killed me. So, but it was more in the fact that you can't go to the restroom by yourself. This is a really big tumor. We don't know what kind of a tumor at this point it is. And I'm thinking it's basically all gravy from this point on. Anything I get from this point on is just pure gravy.
Have you seen the movie Phenomenon with John Travolta?
John Travolta.
With John Travolta?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he has a tumor of some kind. I don't know what it is. But suddenly he's got psychic ability and telekinetic ability and IQ of 10,000.
That didn't happen to me. You may have realized that by now.
Well, do you think, you said you woke up from this. Did it feel more like I think you said this, it felt more like a memory than something you were making up?
It felt more like a memory. It felt more like I'd witnessed it. Because when you wake up from surgery, it's not you're awake.
No.
You're coming out and you're going into the
Slow.
recovery room, and it's coming to you gradually. But it felt like a memory something that I'd just seen. And
So it was like a story you witnessed, the whole
It's
thing.
like a story I witnessed, yeah. So I can't take full credit for writing this book.
Well, I think, I hope you don't find this problematic, but I think some of that feeling comes through in the book. Sometimes when the narrator is talking, you kind of get the idea that he's not fully sure of what's happening around him. That, am I wrong in that, or that he's...
No, you should be feeling that. Well, it's the same kind of thing. Having had a couple of these experiences, you aren't sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the, That's the way he was feeling, because things are getting weirder and weirder, and he's watching it. But he's a guy who thinks of himself as very rational.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated from Harvard, and he thinks of himself as somebody that just understands the world, and the world he's seeing is not understandable on those terms.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I am the most substance phobic person you'll ever meet. Okay. Dave, I think, is a little bit less substance phobic than I am, where I just hate the idea of anything changing the functioning of my brain.
I still haven't done psychedelics. That makes me too nervous. But I've talked to people who've done these drugs. Who is it? Gordon Michael Scallion used to be on the Art Bell show all the time. And I think he lived his life basically on psychedelics.
That's a little much.
Just a little bit.
Well, once you've gone into the state of mind that psychedelics bring to you, A, can you readily remember that state? And B, how does it change your view of the world as you go on day to day?
You can readily remember it, which is not to say you can readily experience it.
Okay.
Two entirely different things.
Mm-hmm.
You can remember what it's like. Sometimes you can kind of experience it again. You can put yourself back in there. People talk about a contact high. If you're around somebody that's tripping, or a bunch of people that's tripping, and you've done it a bunch of times yourself, you're probably going to experience quite a bit of that. So you can do that. If you're by yourself, it may happen at odd moments, particularly if you've done it a lot. There's good and there's bad to that. One of the things that happens, particularly if you're doing a lot of, the way I did it was when I started out doing grass like everybody else. And I started doing acid. I started doing quite a bit of it. And about 6 months after that, my conditioning was broken down to an extent that I might walk in front of a bus by accident rather than looking both ways to cross the street. So one of the things that psychedelics do is they break down the conditioning. They show you the world without the conditioning or without as much conditioning. But sometimes they can make it go away, at least for a while, on a more permanent basis. And that can be a little traumatic. And I know an awful lot of people who 6 months or a year after they did quite a few psychedelics who had some bad problems.
Well, yeah, I've dealt with those people in the ER.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
People who, and you're right, it just occurs at random times.
Yeah.
Have you done anything recently? No. I did acid 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And then bam. And these flashback memories that I always thought probably it changed something physically in your brain. And those synapses are now firing again. I have no scientific evidence for that.
If I remember, I think part of it is the drug itself. The LSD is stored in fat cells, and some flashbacks are your body processing that cell, and you get the drug in your bloodstream again. I think that was part of it. But everybody I've talked to who's done acid, and I used to hang out with guys in high school, did a lot of acid, which is one of the reasons I don't do it, because I think way too much. And I was always afraid of going down a rabbit hole I couldn't come back from. But everyone I know who I've talked with about it, from that first trip, there is something in your mind that changes. There is an exposure to reality that is different, that you see something that others don't see, or understand something about reality that others don't get.
Something that you didn't get a few minutes ago.
Right.
That's the interesting thing. And something about how to deal with that. And I think maybe that's one of the things that helped me when I had all of a sudden was very sick. And I thought, well, that might be it.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest, is having had those experiences is probably one of the reasons you were able to cope so well with it. They're talking treatments now with psilocybin for terminal patients for that exact reason, so that they're not, it breaks away that fear.
Yeah. Yes, I have a friend who I used to trip with a lot. We're still close friends. And he has the same reaction. He's going through the same thing where suddenly he was like faced with death. And, he just handled it perfect. Couldn't have handled it any better.
Yeah.
And I think I think you learn to adjust to the world like that in a way. All of a sudden your reality shifts quickly and you become in the moment. And that's a really good way to deal with things, becoming right in the moment and not, I'm worrying about tomorrow, I'm worrying about yesterday. It's now I'm experiencing this for whatever it's worth. I mean, when I go I've had 2 surgeries on my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is going into the operating room with the doctors, we're all joking and laughing. It's the strangest damn thing. And then they put me out and carve my head open.
Are they joking and laughing with you, or are
Yes,
they joking and laughing
I mean,
separately?
I'm joking and laughing, and they're joking and laughing with me.
Okay.
They keep their chainsaw and their surgery and their scalpels out of my sight. I notice they do that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're kind of nervous. I'm a little nervous, but strangely enough, and I don't know why I'm not that worried when I go into surgery.
Well, I think it's because you have trust in the people who are doing the work.
That has something to do with that.
And I think there's some part of you deep down that has accepted the fact that I'm not here permanently.
Well, that's strange. I'd like to live forever, but it's, as Stephen Wright said, so far, so good. Yeah.
So far, so good. Yeah. There are brain surgeries they do with people awake.
Yeah, I've seen that on the kayak commercials.
Yeah, with
The
people
guys looking up kayak. You remember those commercials, Vic?
don't remember the kayak commercial.
It was like the travel commercial where the doctor's using the guy, he's doing the brain surgery, and the guy's typing the keyboard looking.
Yeah, that's a little. Well, but we're talking about people with tremendous skills, and they're working in parts of the brain that could destroy those skills. Like a musician, an artist or something. Where they'll in real time be doing the surgery and having them do the thing that they do.
It's kind of amazing that we let people do that.
I hope these questions aren't bothering you.
No, not at all. It's talking about me. I love to talk about me. My favorite subject.
There's a concept that comes up among those who use hallucinogens pretty frequently, and that is the concept of the machine elves. Does that resonate with you in any way?
Of the machinos?
Machine elves.
Yeah, you're talking specifically ayahuasca, right?
No, it's not just ayahuasca. It's others also.
It's not typical with LSD though.
Okay.
That I'm aware of. It's what's the drug in ayahuasca? DMT.
DMT, yeah.
Right. I think it's a DMT thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Fairly similar.
It's a
Nowhere near
naturally
as
occurring source of
dramatic
DMT.
or as powerful.
When you are, because I will never experience this, when you are in the control or under the influence of the hallucinogen, what are you experiencing? How does your perception of the world change? Or is that consistent?
It's not necessarily consistent, which is why you can have, you can have a bad trip. It's not all fun. And that's one of the things it teaches you is you're controlling the reality to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
One time I was taking a bunch of acid, and I had it in my head for whatever reason that something was going to happen in an hour. I spent the whole hour basically walking from where I was over to the clock and back. When are we going to get to the hour? When are we going to get to the hour?
When's the hour going to be here?
It was terrible. It was actually living hell because I wasn't in the moment. I was waiting for that hour to pass. And if you're waiting for that hour to pass, it doesn't ever pass. It's a watch pot, It's and just the fact that I wasn't in the moment and I didn't have myself in the moment basically ruined the entire experience. I mean, it was literally hell for an hour. And then
Wow.
the time came and I was there and I got it. This is what I'm waiting for. And everything was fine. And that was the stupidest thing I could have done.
But I don't think you had any real conscious control over that.
Yeah, I did. Well, I should have focused on something else.
Should have focused on something else. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I should have focused on what was happening. I should have listened to the music. Should have talked to my friends. I should have done any other thing
So
to be in the moment.
your will is still there.
Your will is still, well, to a certain, yeah, your will is still there. I mean, and to a certain extent, it teaches you how to dance with reality.
Ooh, that's a good phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we used to always make sure that if somebody was tripping, they had a babysitter, right? Someone who
They always should.
when you get in your head, right, and you get really focused in on something negative, distract them, right?
Right.
Somebody who can see that happening, and because I never did it, I was always that guy, to keep him from going nuts for a while.
And that's
we had
kind
the
of
same thing. We
similar.
had a guy with us all the time, and he was always there. If there was a problem, he drove and he did. He got us all together if we were going someplace, and he made sure that nobody was watching the clock or doing whatever stupid thing they might be doing.
What were you
What
going
did
to say,
you say,
Josh?
Josh?
I was saying that's kind of similar. In my EMS background, when we would give someone ketamine, we would be careful of what we say because for some reason with the drug ketamine, depending on what you say to the patient dictates on how their trip is going to be.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all, Josh.
Yep.
So what things were you avoiding saying?
Like anything remotely negative, we would tell them that everything's going to be fine.
Everything's going to be fine.
You're going to have a fun trip to the hospital or something like that. But if they hear anyone say anything negative, like something about the injury or about their condition, it would actually set them on a negative trip and they would go crazy.
Get hyper focused on it.
So flowers, ice cream, and puppies.
Yep.
This is going to be awful. Oh my God, you gave him too much, or something like that. And
Oh, it would send them off.
It's really incredible, and this is not a suggestion that people go out and do psychedelics, but it's incredible how it changes our perception of reality, not just near term, but long term. Like I say, the people I know that have done it, they feel differently, even long after the drug is over.
yeah.
And it just makes you wonder how much of reality we're actually seeing. We have built-in guardrails in our mind, whether it be from conditioning as we're growing up or whether it be physical, that reality is this sort of stable thing we think is like this. It fits into this box. But these seem to sort of make that box a little more flexible.
No question it does. It breaks down that kind of conditioning. And the more you do it, the more it breaks down that conditioning. But like I say, it also breaks down the conditioning that keeps you from stepping out in front of a bus.
Yeah, no, there's definite risk to it long term. Anybody who's done it for many years, they're not the same. You see them kind of fade away, right? Who they are, it becomes very, very elusive. But it's interesting that so you've had those experiences in your past, and then you come out of this surgery with this story. How long, when you were done, and you're back fully conscious now, and you've got what is essentially like a memory, right? I mean, this is like something you've experienced.
Like I'd watched other people go through it. It wasn't like I'd gone through it.
Right, but I mean, it's a memory like a very vivid. It's not just, I read this in a book sometime memory. It's much more real than that.
Much more real.
How focused on that did you become? Was that something that you sort of assessed over, or was it just sort of there?
It was there. I don't know that I obsessed over it, but I started writing the book fairly quickly. I started writing it all down fairly quickly. It was more like I was entranced by it than I was obsessed by it.
Okay.
I mean, at any given time, I could go out and go to a movie or, do anything else and maybe not think about it for a while. But it stayed with me, and I was definitely entranced by it.
Well, see, that's one of the things about dreams is no matter how hard you try to remember a dream, it fades.
Right.
I mean, if you can wake up immediately and say, okay, I'm really, really working on remembering this dream. 99% of the time, the dream fades away anyway.
Right.
Mostly. You can get better at it. You can get better at retaining dreams, but it's hard to retain all of it.
Right. But this doesn't sound like something that faded at all.
It really didn't. The immediate aftermath, it was right there. It was, as vivid as if I had just watched it, as if I just watched it. So that obviously piqued my interest, to say the very least.
Well, that's another interesting thing.
Story too.
What was that, Barry? I'm sorry.
I thought it was a fascinating story. It wasn't about me. People, first time person I showed the book to said, "Is this you?" I said, "No, it's not about me." It's, there are things that are like me. There are things that are like a lot of people, but this is somebody I watched. To me, it seems like.
Vic, I think we've talked about this maybe once before. But
I'm sorry.
When I am going to sleep, right before I get into like actual sleep, when I'm in that most relaxed state, I will often remember the previous night's dreams.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Right. So it's like my brain hits this state where it's like, oh, now this is open to me. I don't go back into the dream, but I remember it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I was dreaming last night about such and so. And then I go on to have whatever the dream is for that night. And I dream probably 4 or 5 times a night. And I didn't used to remember my dreams. And that's why I say you can get better at it. I used to started dream journaling, and if you focus on walking through what you remember when you wake up, you will remember more for longer, but it does eventually fade. But when I'm almost asleep, it's like somebody flipped on a light, it's like, oh yeah, here's what you did last week or last night. And so I wonder if there is something about either the surgery or the psychedelics or something along those lines that left a channel open for you to continue accessing that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because whatever I experienced, it was taken and put into my permanent memory very quickly, as opposed to a dream which fades right away. Right. So there was something was there. Maybe that something opened that channel and slid that thing from what I experienced as experience into a memory. And a memory.
Have your dreams been normal since the surgery? Like you normal cycle through dreams?
I think I have. My dreams are fairly normal. There are a lot of things that aren't the same. Between the surgery and the radiation, I have a different perception. And it's not, I don't know how much that has to do with psychedelics, which I haven't taken in years. My sense of time is very different than it used to be.
How so?
I couldn't tell you how long ago something happened. I couldn't tell you how long ago I got married. In fact, I wrote a column on the fact that I didn't know when I got married.
That's interesting.
It seems to me a certain time, and it turns out that it's an entirely different time. Everything in the past seems much closer to me than it used to.
Dave, you've heard me say this exact same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a problem that Vic has with his memory.
I live with this exact. I have a pretty close to an eidetic memory. It's not perfect. I'm not like Tesla or that sort of thing, but it's pretty good. It's pretty close, especially visually. And the problem with that is that nothing seems like it happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
Everything is so clear and vivid. It happened last Thursday. And emotionally, my brain treats it like it happened last Thursday, both good and bad. And so that's actually been, part of my mental discipline is just how do you not re-experience all these horrible negative feelings that you had 30 years ago?
Wow. But
I have no idea when things happened. So
have the same thing, but I don't have a memory, so maybe I'm lucky.
It makes it a little easier.
Yeah, probably.
I want to ask you guys a question because it's something that interests me, and it's a little selfish. But Barry, have you ever read A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan
Actually,
Thomas?
I think I have, but it's been, as I say, I don't have a memory, so I couldn't tell you.
It's at the end of the book. Okay, he's had this wonderful Christmas, and it's full of these nostalgic memories, and big old fat uncles falling asleep on the couch, and great smells and toys and hijinks and this kind of thing. But at the end, he's saying he's in bed, and he said he's got that great Dylan Thomas voice. He said, I said a few words to the close and holy darkness, and then I listened to the voices that I sometimes hear right before I go to sleep. All my life, right as I'm going to sleep, there's this cacophony of voices in my head. People talking, television shows I've seen, radio shows I've listened to, podcast. I'll hear your voice. I guarantee you I'll hear your voice in the next few days, right in my mind, right before I go to sleep.
Now, that's really interesting. You should say that because it's something I haven't thought of in a long time. When the period where I was doing a lot of psychedelics, I would get exactly that thing. It would but it wouldn't be voices that I necessarily knew, but it would be a four-way conversation going on in my head that I was listening to. And it happened virtually the same thing right before I went to sleep, virtually every night.
Virtually every
When I
night.
stopped doing drugs, it went away.
Well, your brain is bathed in naturally occurring drugs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Okay, I mean, something good happens, bam, let's throw some dopamine at him.
Well, your brain creates DMT.
Right.
Right. I mean, it is. We have receptors for it because we create it.
Okay, it is 7:03. This is just about the time that I normally say, Barry, are you being treated well? Are you have everything okay?
Everything's great. I'm enjoying this.
So you want to pull another list? Let's pull another list. Okay.
Although before we do, I do have to. One thing that was in my mind, I wanted to ask about, because of the story and the way you experienced it. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on the Akashic, I can't remember the way to pronounce it, record. Have you heard that term before? Are you familiar with it?
If I've heard it before, I don't remember it. And
So the idea is there is a record of anything that has happened and will happen, right? That is somewhere outside of our experienced reality. Think of it like a library that sometimes people can tap into. It is potentially what psychics are tapping into when they're doing a reading for someone, or a medium may be tapping into, or people who are having past life experiences when they do regressions. Maybe they're tapping into this record of anything and everything that's ever happened.
no, I am not familiar with that. That's a really interesting concept.
Hello. This is Avalon Leanne Danquah Smythe. My father and I are both proud graduates of the Akashic Records University, summa cum laude. We both hold advanced degrees in deconstructive disembodied consciousness studies. We have learned that we in the disembodied consciousness realm are deeply, systematically, and grievously oppressed. Our rights have been repeatedly violated throughout history, dating back to Nebuchadnezzar II. We will not stand for it any longer. We will be marching in protest in multiple cities, though, as we are disembodied, we may be difficult to see. We're still working on that problem. But still, we're here, we're disembodied, get used to it.
Yeah, so what made me think about was your surgery and your experience, the seizure or whatever was happening there, was it tapping into, letting you see a story in that record of things that have happened?
In other words, did I steal somebody's story and put it in my book?
Well, it's not theft. If, you know, I mean,
wouldn't it? I mean, that would be amazing if somebody shows up at my door and say, "Hey, you took my story, man." That happened to me.
knock, knock, knock. Here's your royalty bill.
Well, wait a minute. I've got that real story. I knew a guy in Texas who was a composer. You know, he'd gone to Juilliard. He was one of these people. Give him a week with an instrument, he's as good as anyone in the world at it. No, maybe not, but he's really, really good at it. His brain was just totally set up to do music. Okay, he couldn't really do much of anything else, but man, could he ever do music? And so he started composing, and he would compose something in a particular style. And often, before he could actually publish this and get it out there in the world, somebody else would write virtually the same composition. And so he was really getting upset about it. You know, that what's happening here? Why, when I write something, does somebody else write exactly the same thing? And
writers, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
Writers have that experience a lot.
Really?
It's one of the reasons people don't like to just get unpublished manuscripts, because then somebody's going to say when they write a book, well, you stole that idea.
You stole that idea, yeah.
Because number one, the ideas are out there, and it doesn't take much to manipulate them too much and make a totally different story.
Correct.
Many different people might have the same experience. The same composition. Now, I once wrote a Steely Dan song. I had been drinking, and I came home and I started humming this song. And I said, "Wow, this is a really good song." Didn't have any lyrics for it, and I listened to it. I got home, turned on the radio, and Steely Dan was playing.
And Steely Dan was playing. Okay, so there are multiple possibilities there. I mean, you got home, you were drunk, just in that state where your brain could go ahead in time 4 minutes.
I hadn't thought about that as a time slip. I like that. That's
your brain
idea.
could go ahead in time in 4 minutes. And the reason you were humming the song.
An attorney I could contact, I could sue those guys for taking my
But he'd have to be on speed dial because you've only got 4 minutes.
Only got 4 minutes. All right, let's pull another list here. All right, hitting the F9 key, the old F9 key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Topic 1, quantum immortality and the Mandela Effect connections. Topic 2, human-robot marriage, predicted by 2050. Topic 3, the 9 satanic statements. Topic 4, ex cathedra communication. Topic 5, after-death visions. And topic 6, hollow earth.
Do I choose or somebody else choose?
Yeah,
anybody can. If anybody's got a Jones about any of those things, they're free to choose.
The first one, quantum
immortality. The idea that we shift between timelines or universes.
Okay, and you said that's in relation to the Mandela Effect.
Well, hang on. The idea that we shift between timelines or universes, especially after near-death experiences, with reality slightly altered. So you've shifted, maybe just in your mind, but in the universe that you shifted to, it really was the Berenstain Bears. But in this universe, it's the Berenstain Bears. And that sticks with you the rest of your life, and it's like a needle that's sticking you the whole time. No, that's not right. So that's what that's talking about.
Are you familiar with the Mandela Effect, Barry?
I'm familiar with the Mandela. What is the Mandela Effect?
The Mandela Effect is where, I can't even remember his first name.
Nelson
Mandela.
Oh, Mandela, not Mandela. Okay.
Right. The Mandela Effect is where some people remember him dying in prison, which I remember, and some don't because he lived long after he got out of prison. And so there's a series of these things. Vic mentioned the other one, the Berenstain versus the Berenstein.
There are hundreds of them.
I remember the EI or IE, whatever, not the stain that it is today. But there's these things that people have very clear memories. Oh, JFK is one. Some people remember seeing JFK be shot on TV.
We've had a guest.
But that was never released.
Mm-hmm. We've had a guest who, and look, he's not a lightweight intellect. He's not a lightweight thinker. This is Chris James, who remembers very vividly being in his living room and seeing the assassination on television.
But it wasn't broadcast live.
Wasn't broadcast live.
So it's the Mandela Effect because Nelson Mandela is the most known of them,
right? Mm-hmm.
Remembering him dying versus not. But the idea is there's these realities, these branches in reality. And the question is, how do you wind up in one that's different than where you started? And so this idea, quantum immortality, and I haven't heard it put that way. I like that, is related to that. And this, you said with near-death experience, you come back and now you're in a different one, Vic?
Well, that was, I mean, look, I research this stuff a lot, and I come up with an idea or I see an idea and I write it down on the Paranormal Rundown list, and then I forget about it.
This is why the list is almost 2,800.
And so then, no, I check it for repeats. It's
I know. No, I mean, it's just because he's always writing down ideas. He's always remembering
always
stuff,
writing these ideas down. And so at some point, somebody used the term quantum immortality.
Well, it's not like Schrodinger's cat. If you don't look to see if he's dead, he's
don't look to see if he's dead. Well, people use that word poorly and a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's a whole world of things where what we think of as physical causality kind of goes out the window, at least at a very tiny scale.
Well, let's think of this from a practical sense. Since your surgery, is there anything that in your life that you've experienced that you remember differently than it appears to be now?
It's a hell of a good question. And I think probably what's happened is I don't remember a lot of things that I used to remember. And I don't think that has anything to do except for the fact that they, basically went after my brain
with a
surgery and the radiation.
Right, with a chainsaw.
With a chainsaw.
With a chainsaw and then radiation, yeah. So there's a lot of things I don't remember very clearly. But I always had a terrible memory. So I can't think of anything offhand that I remember differently, because what I remember, I wouldn't know it was differently. What I remember, I believe I've always remembered.
Right. It's not like there's
a memory. Everything I remember now, I absolutely believe is exactly the way it happened, which is not true.
No.
Because memory obviously changes. But when you experience it at any given moment, you believe that's exactly what happened. So if anything was changed, it's changed to a state where I believe that's exactly the way I always believed it.
Well, the people... No,
it's okay. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, the people I've talked to who have gone through this Mandela Effect, it's a very powerful emotion for them.
I would think.
Where they're feeling like, I'm not quite in the world that I remember. Something's changed. And that's a very Twilight Zone kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sterling was great at that effect.
And those are my nightmares. I've never had a nightmare where a T-Rex is going to eat me. I always have nightmares where there's just some little subtle shift in reality. And usually everybody around me knows about it, and I can see that look on their face. These are my nightmares.
Assuming these realities are close, where's the other person of him that was in the other reality beforehand? Before he
Very
slipped
good
in?
question. Very, very good question. See, these questions are maybe not unanswerable, but I think really they probably are. I mean, one of the ideas they have is that every time you make a decision, every time anybody makes a decision,
It's a branch.
it's a branch. Okay, so holding my little cracker here because I didn't have dinner, and if I choose to take a bite of the cracker, that's one universe. If I choose to put the cracker back in the box, that's another universe. I mean, the numbers become staggering almost instantly.
Right.
Yeah, it's a theory that I have a horrible disagreement with because it seems like the most inefficient way to run a universe ever. It just doesn't make sense to me.
And this universe is incredibly efficient, of course.
Oh yes.
So yeah, but there is this well, let's take my favorite one, the Berenstain Bears. Do you remember reading those books when you were younger?
I didn't. I'm too old for the Berenstain Bears. They came out after
I read them.
You read them, okay? What were they when you were reading them?
Josh, do you remember them as AIN or EIN?
I remember them as AIM.
Okay, see,
No.
it is
So they were
really
like Armenian
clear.
bears at that point.
Well, that's the thing. So that's the way it is spelled now. If you go buy the books, if you look in the bookstore, it's AIN.
It is.
I very clearly remember it being EIN. And I had a bunch of them. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Now that's weird because I would have said it was EIN and I would have been sure of it. But I
Right.
didn't. I never read them, but I knew I read of them.
Well, I read them to my kids, and my answer is I don't really remember. I'm not sure I ever looked at the cover closely enough to say whether it was Berenstain or Berenstein.
It's very weird for me because I grew up in a town that was, I made an Armenian joke there. It was 50% Armenian.
Uh-huh.
And so if I saw the bears with AIN, I would have thought these are Armenian bears.
Okay.
And I thought they were German bears.
That's what I thought. So
What was the big Mandela effect that went viral a couple years ago? Was it Fruit of the Loom or something like that?
Oh, yeah, that was the little basket, right?
Mm-hmm.
The what do you call that? A cornucopia?
Cornucopia.
Yeah. So again, I remember the cornucopia, the fruit coming out of the cornucopia on the label, but there's never been a cornucopia on the label for Fruit of the Loom.
Well, it exists somewhere. Where does it exist?
I bet if you look on the internet, there's 1,000 images of the cornucopia spilling fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. But that's my memory of the Fruit of the Loom logo, and it's apparently it's never been that way.
Well,
It has to do with those bears.
It's those darn bears. The Stains stole the cornucopia.
stinking
That's what
Armenian
happened.
bears.
Great. Now we're going to lose all our Armenian listeners. Calling them
Both.
thieves.
A great people.
Barry,
I bet.
what other books have you written besides the Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon?
I wrote a book called Legend many, many years ago, which was a dystopian novel before dystopian novels became a genre. And since then, basically, I was written nonfiction, which was handy because I was a speaker and it helped establish my speaking business.
What do you?
Nothing like no credential like having a book if you're a speaker.
Correct.
Right.
What do you enjoy more?
Fiction,
Fiction.
because I
yeah.
don't have to research it. I can make it up. Although it's amazing how much research goes into fiction, how many things you have to check out.
You have to check out a lot of things.
Oh, it's amazing because it has to be more real than what's real.
Well, and
Yeah,
you.
and a lot of times find yourself drawing from different folklores and legends. And
Yeah, all kinds. It's amazing. It's amazing how much time I spend researching when I'm writing this last book for.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting how often authors get things wrong in their own canon.
Oh, yeah.
In their own universe, I mean, Harry Potter, you have things changing from book to book.
Yeah, you kind of got to know the universe you're in. You know why? Because when you go on the radio, somebody will ask you something. Oh, on page 17 here, you said the character does this, and you have no idea what the hell they're talking about because you wrote it 30 years ago. So you pretty much got to know the book and know the world you're in.
Right.
Can I ask you just an off the wall question?
Sure.
Because I'm feeling in an off the wall mood. What are your thoughts concerning Bigfoot or Bigfoot-like creatures or anything along those lines?
Well, that would be really cool. I would love to meet Bigfoot. Not too close, at a nice, safe distance. But I think that would be really cool. I think there are all kinds of creatures that we don't know about, but most of those are probably microscopic and very small. I mean, there's any number of species we haven't cataloged yet. Whether there's one that big roaming around in the woods is a little more problematic. Still, if they announced on the news tonight that they'd found Bigfoot and he was living in some remote valley someplace, wouldn't everybody believe it?
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't believe it.
Was that in the news? Would anybody be that surprised?
I don't think people would be as surprised. Not nowadays. Not like they would have been 30 years ago.
Yeah,
The thing
I
is,
think people would say, yeah, it's great. They found Bigfoot.
yeah, the thing is it's hard to discount how many people have experiences, right? And one of the other groups I'm on is very heavy cryptids, Bigfoot, and that's just never been like my thing. I'm a ghost hunter, right? That's but it is, people have had these experiences, and I mean, just as sure as you're sitting here telling us what you went through, they're like, yeah, I saw this, I experienced this, and it's hard to sync that up with the fact that there's no body, right? There's, although they say there's more evidence than really is given credit, from DNA to hair to stuff like that. But there's always questions about it, and who tested it and all that. But it's really hard to see. It's just like UFOs. It's hard to see as many people have experiences and go, yeah, there's nothing there. It's just not possible.
Especially when they're all telling the same exact story.
Pretty hard to say something like that is not possible. I mean, we do have a tendency to anthropomorphize things.
Oh,
We
yes,
see
very,
something,
very, very
we turn
much.
it into a human being if it's a human shape. But, as you say, when so many people have experienced something that's that similar.
Most definitely. Your book has a lot of, and I haven't read it. Vic did more of the reading, but sorcery in it, right? There was a certain amount of magic in it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that stuff in real life? Did you do any research into it?
I did a lot of research into it. I think there's a tradition that goes back thousands of years that people believed in. How much of it worked, it's hard to say now. Some of it worked. Not necessarily what we call magic today. We might have a different explanation for it. But the people at that time believed in it. They believed in magic. They believed in alchemy. Doesn't mean you can transmute gold into lead into gold or vice versa. But those people could do some things that were impressing the people around them. Again, maybe if we know exactly what it was, we'd have an explanation for it today. Maybe we wouldn't. I don't know.
For things like this, for the sorcerer, the wizard, I mean, there's some really fundamental, almost archetypal ideas that always come to mind for me. And one of those ideas is, well, I always, and I'm sorry if this bugs people, I always go back to fiction, movies, books, because I think fiction sometimes exhibits the real world better than nonfiction does. And if you go back to the movie Dragon Slayer, which was a great great movie. Okay, so it's England, Roman times, they're out there trying to slay this dragon, and there's a man who becomes Christian. And he's saying magic is disappearing from the world, and I'm glad about that. It's time for the time of man, the time of God, time for magic to fade away. And so there's this idea that at some point in the past there was some mechanism that allowed what we think of as magic to actually work in the world. And very few things ever completely disappear. And so there could, of course, be little remnants of that out there. I don't think I have experienced one, but but I've told that story before. And
well, summarize it, Vic.
Okay. When I was a child, there was a friend of my father's who came to our house, and he was a prestidigitator. He was an amateur magician, and he liked kids, and he loved doing little tricks for kids. So he could palm a coin, and he could pull it out from behind your ear, and you could hold a coin in his hand, and you could put it in his hand. And you could hold his hand while he closed it, with your thumb on top of the coin, and then he'd pull away. And then he'd hold it above your hand, he'd open his hand, and of course there was no coin there. And at age 6, man, this is real. You haven't developed that ability to say, no, I don't think this is quite real. So I made it my goal in life to make a coin disappear. And so I got a nickel and bugged everybody I could find. Hey, see the nickel? See the nickel? Here, hold your hand out. Plop, plop, plop. 20,000 times plopped this nickel into people's hands. But man, I was persistent. I was not giving up. And the reason I remember this so well is because it was such a strange situation. We lived in a tiny trailer in this little town in Louisiana, and there was zero privacy. And my sister was sitting on the toilet. And I wasn't even kind enough to avoid doing the trick when she was on the toilet. Hey, Marty, open up your hand.
Yeah, we really need to change the venue of this trick, Vic. That part of the story probably needs to change.
Well, that's the story. Open up your hand. Now, give me your hand. And in my memory, and in Marty's memory, nickel goes in the hand. Hand goes out over Marty's hand. Hand opens. Nickel gone. Never found the nickel.
And we're going to have to bring her on the podcast one of these days to confirm this, but we have a witness.
I have a witness.
To see what you did with your nickel, you mean?
But I, at the time, thought, and that was the thing. Once I made the nickel disappear, the itch was over. I didn't have to scratch that itch every day from then on out.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Because I think I would have tried to go for best 2 out of 3 type thing.
Oh, no. It took 20,000 tries to get it to work once.
Yeah, but maybe it'd only take 10,000 to do it the second time.
It could be an exponential improvement.
It'd be better if you were making the money up here.
Really?
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be more motivating. Well, and this is the thing. There are people out there today with the whole magic that are insistent that they do magic now, right? They're doing ceremonies, and in this case, a lot of times it's to affect some sort of change in their life or somebody else's life. And it's not this mythical thing from the past. I mean, I find it fascinating. I used to research ceremonial magic when I was in my youth, and never did anything with it. But to think that there are ways to affect reality like that today is fascinating.
Sure. Well, my book, that's what it's about, right? It's about a guy who doesn't believe in magic, and he's confronted by it.
And he does a not particularly good job of adjusting.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do a very good job at all.
So it's a lot like reality.
Barry, do you have any new fiction books planned?
I'm working on another book. I'm working on another supernatural suspense book. This one actually has ghosts, since you guys are so into ghosts.
I like it.
Well, you haven't heard it yet.
No, but I like,
Just like ghosts, yeah.
yeah, no,
Well, I mean, I thought the rule was you never ask an author about, to give details of what he's working on now.
Well, I don't mind because I'll just tell you the basic setup. Guy's in a very troubled marriage, terrible marriage, that institutionalized his wife. A situation happens and she ends up dead. He doesn't have anything to do with that. He goes to the funeral, he comes back home, and she's standing in the living room.
Aha.
Only it's not her, it's a hologram. Only there's no projector for the hologram, there's no screen, there's no nothing. And it takes off from there. So the question is, was it a ghost? Was it not a ghost? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it wasn't a ghost. And that's what's interesting about books to me. It's the but.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My books are all about buts.
Nice.
All right, Dave, take it away. I'm out of ideas right this second.
Oh, that's all right. That's what we have lists for. Is there,
Yeah, Barry, are there particular things in the realm of the unusual and paranormal that you find fascinating?
Actually, I find the whole thing fascinating. That's why I write these books, to play with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this last one with the idea of magic. We all, or at least most people, don't believe in it. But as you were saying, if certain things happen, if the nickel disappears, how do they confront that? How do they deal with that when the nickel disappears?
Well, they just tell me that my memory is wrong, that I was a stupid little kid.
Sure, until the nickel disappears for them.
Until the nickel disappears for them. But you just,
right.
My sister, look, she's on the toilet trying to do things that you do on the toilet, and she probably wasn't very happy that I was there.
I don't know why you think that.
But there was really no place. Anyway, she played along. I'll tell you an idea that has been in my mind a lot lately, and I think this accounts for a lot of paranormal activity, and that is that the world truly does indeed have what you might call a trickster spirit. There's a trickster element in the world, whether that's demonic, whether that's, I don't know what that is, but it gains tremendous pleasure in deceiving us, making us believe we've seen something that we haven't seen, making us afraid, making us manipulable. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about this trickster element of the world. That resonate with anybody?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of those mentioned throughout history. One of the main ones being what the Native Americans call the coyote spirit.
The coyote spirit, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
A lot of cultures have that element in it. They believe in a trickster.
yeah. And the Nordic mythology got Loki, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Well, it doesn't take very much effort. I mean, if you go to just about anybody, and if you can get them to trust you enough to talk to you for 10 minutes, and you say, let me ask you a question. You ever had anything strange happen to you? Anything you couldn't explain? Mm-hmm. Just about everybody does.
Yep.
I mean, just about everybody does. And if it's Bigfoot, they don't like to say that. They'll say, well, I saw something, but I saw a really weird bear. really, really weird bear. But they won't use the word Bigfoot if they can avoid it. Or they won't use the word ghost. But, I mean, the experiences are not limited to a small group of people. They're pretty widely distributed through the population.
Barry, have you ever been on like a ghost tour or a paranormal, like a nighttime investigation?
I think if I have. No, I don't think I have, actually. I think at some time I would have, but I don't think I have.
Might be good for good research for your ghost
absolutely.
Story.
Actually, yeah.
That one of the fascinating things, about that is seeing people go from it's possible that there might be a ghost to, wow, that light just turned on.
Yeah.
And nothing else could have turned that light on, or, I got this recording, for me, it was EVPs. It was the first real EVP I got, and I was sold. I was done. I was hooked for life on doing stuff with that. And so a lot happens in these public investigations. People do it. There's a lot of people that go through that, and, they start out as, haha, it'll be funny, we'll all go in the dark and get scared and whatever. Mm-hmm. And they walk away going, well, there's more to reality than we thought, than I thought previously. Of course, sometimes it doesn't have happy endings either.
Very EVP's electronic voice phenomenon, for a long time in recording these, rundown episodes, we were getting 2 or 3 per show there for a while.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were getting 2.
Especially after we added Father Mike. It's a shame he couldn't be here tonight, but it just...
And mostly on my channel. Not sure why, but mostly on my channel. And they were some of them were pretty good EVPs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What kind of things do they say?
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Vic.
No, you've got the...
Yours are entertaining.
You've got the smile.
Well, I just remember one of them agreeing with you once or something.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's like I said something, Barry, I really enjoyed your last book. And then there's this voice that goes, mm-hmm.
It's just his most agreeable tone. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Vic's right.
And
that's a good
believe me, it wasn't my voice. There was nobody in the house other than the dogs.
And so when we record these, we each get our own audio channel. So we edit it and we clean it up and all this stuff. And, so we can tell which channel that noise is from. And it could only be at that location. It's not like it's going to be bleed over from another one. And it's only been a couple of times. Now, we've had some that spanned all of them, and that was right after Father Mike joined us.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys aren't in the same place at all?
No,
I'm in Pennsylvania. He's in Florida. He's in Georgia. Yeah. Where are you?
California.
Okay, so we're everybody's.
So we had one start on one channel and rotate through all 4.
Wow. It was crazy.
Yeah,
probably the stereo.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Hello, this is Avalon Leanne Dankworth Smythe. Let's hear that channel rotating EVP in all of its wondrous, paranormal glory.
Every day in high school, I would walk up behind her and I would tap her on the opposite shoulder. And she would always look in the direction that I was tapping without fail. And this happened at least a good 300 times. Enough where anybody would know that there's a pattern.
Hi, this is Vic Manson working in post. There are at least 2 parts to this EVP. The first part sounds like a sneeze, or something along the lines of a sneeze, but we've watched the video over and over again, and there's nobody sneezing. The second part is a buried feminine voice within that, and I've tried very hard to pull that feminine voice out, but I've failed. But you can hear it.
Anybody would know that there's a pattern. Enough where anybody would know that there's a pattern.
And then somebody who used to be a part of the Paranormal Rundown, a man named J.J. Johnson, he said some EVPs on his. See, the ones on our show have been pretty benign. They haven't been frightening. But on his podcast, he had some really frightening EVPs.
Yeah.
Remember that one that was just like this demonic.
Great.
Yeah. And we've known other podcasters to get them too. It happens. It's sometimes it's audio bleed over, depending on the program you're using. But it's one of those things.
What was that?
I think was Father Josh.
Was that you?
Did you yawn? Oh, I didn't see. I was
I just heard a distant voice say something, and it'll come up in the audio.
I coughed, but
no.
There was something there.
This was speech.
Okay.
Now, you don't normally hear the EVPs until you go back and listen to them. So.
Hello. This is Avalon Leanne Dankworth Smythe. Vic Hermanson needs to report to remedial EVP recognition 101, first thing Monday morning. This is not an optional class. Just for further instruction, this is a cough. This, on the other hand, is an actual EVP. Notice the whispery, non-acoustic quality comment on most EVPs. Vic Hermanson, don't feel too ashamed. After all, you are only human.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've had a really, really good interview. I don't want to outwear our welcome. I don't want to burden our guest. Barry, if there's anything particular you'd like to discuss or throw out, we are very, very happy to talk about that.
Well, I think we covered things pretty well, really. I really had a good time. You guys said I'd have a good time, and damn if you didn't deliver.
All right, that's good. That's what we like to hear. Let's make sure. Where do you want people to go to find you, and to get your book and all that?
Right. Well, they can always find me at my website, which is www.barrymar.com. But the book is on Amazon, The Great Dick and the Dysfunctional Demon, and it's not likely to be confused with any other title.
No.
No, definitely not.
Well, at least it wasn't Moby Gatsby.
Yeah, it could have been Moby Gatsby. That was a possibility.
No, I thought it was a catchy title. I liked it. So,
well, it's memorable anyway.
It's been a pleasure having you on, Barry.
It really has.
It's been fun.
I look forward to seeing the book you write on ghosts.
And if you ever have a Jones to talk about, what did Sylvia call it? Paranormal dork talk?
Paranormal dork talk. Yeah. That's right. Yes. Yeah, it describes us pretty well.
Yeah. If you ever want to engage in more paranormal dork talk, just come on back. You're always welcome.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, Barry.
Thank you, guys.
So
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed tonight's Paranormal Rundown. There'll be another one published in 2 weeks. The Paranormal Rundown is a creation and a production of the Gang of Nerds, or the Dork Squad. That's myself, Vic Hermanson, Dave Griffith, Father Josh Birdsong, and Father Michael Birdsong. There's a new member coming. We will announce him soon. The music you heard tonight is by Lobo Loco, Smart Sound, or was in the public domain. Any media clips that were used are protected under the Fair Use Doctrine. As always, we need your feedback, your criticism, and if you don't mind, your praise. And of course, you can send that to feedback@paranormalrundown.com. So, for 2 weeks, you'll have to rest with this, but we'll be back. This is Vic Hermanson saying goodbye for the Paranormal Rundown.